A lot of people are thinking that we're not going to get an alt season because they think the alt season already happened last year in December, and they think that there's too many alts out there anyways to even have an alt season with all these meme coins and stuff in the market. In today's video, I'm going to cover why I think an alt season is still coming, why I think it's still going to be a massive alt season, and I'm going to give you some other people's point of views on this. So hit that like button and let's jump into it. All right, today we're going to jump into the crypto markets here and take a look at whether we could get an alt season or not. I know a lot of people think that the alt season already happened back in December. I don't think that was an alt season at all. I think that was just a mini pump, just like we have throughout the entire cycle. We have different periods of time where certain coins pump and then we get a correction and a pullback. We haven't, in my opinion, had a true alt season yet. I still think that it's coming. I think that we're still waiting for certain things to happen in order for that to come. So let's take a look at it here. So the total crypto market cap is 3.2 trillion. It's down from like 4 trillion from a few months back. Bitcoin at 95,000 as of this recording. Ethereum at $2,600 and so on. A lot of alts having a big pullback. Some are doing okay. You have some coins doing okay, but for the most part, all these alts have had a correction, and some of the microcaps especially have had a big correction over the past few weeks. A lot of them that I'm invested in have had probably a 20% pullback in the last week or so, and even like a 40 or 50% pullback over the course of the last month. So alts are really bleeding, especially the microcaps. There are a few that are doing okay, but for the most part, most of them are bleeding pretty hard, and that's because we're not into an alt season yet. And what's causing that? Well, let's take a look at it here. First of all, I want to take a look at the chart of Bitcoin. Now, you have this ascending line here where we're kind of making higher lows with Bitcoin. We're not really making higher highs we are a little bit here, but really not closing the candles that way. We've been in this channel for a while now, ranging between this 92,000 here and actually around, and we got all the way down to 89,000 here at one point, and then always high as 109,000. But for the most part, we've been staying in this range. Now, some people are pointing out that we're in this triangle here, which I don't know is necessarily a good thing because it's kind of like an ascending triangle or ascending wedge, which is usually a bearish pattern, but doesn't always have to play out that way, of course. But we're still in this range, and I think as long as we're staying above 90,000, that we are still bullish and on track for a bull run. If you look at Crypto Crew University's video, he kind of points out where the charts point towards the top of the market being, and he's pointing out in some of his videos recently that it's saying that Bitcoin should reach 176,000 as long as we don't lose market structure. We should reach a minimum of 176,000 this cycle. Take a look at Bitcoin dominance here. This last bull run in 2021, it got all the way up to 74%. I don't think we're going to get that high this time around. We did peak out around just under 65% here recently. The thing is, are we going to keep going higher and keep kind of poking up into this 60-some% range, the mid 60s or high 60s, before we lose that Bitcoin dominance and go into an alt season? Now, alt season actually can start before Bitcoin loses its dominance, because it doesn't have to lose its dominance for alt season to hit, but for alt season to peak, it can typically lose its dominance and then stay low from there for the rest of the cycle. But once that happens, you'll know it, because you're going to see some alts really taking off and going crazy once Bitcoin loses its dominance. Now, is Bitcoin going to pump to like 110, 120,000 to gain that dominance before we get that alt season? We'll have to see how this plays out here. Right now, it's just kind of in a steady range between that 90 and 100 and some thousand level, and until we break up probably above 110,000, we're not going to see anything too crazy with it. Take a look at Crypto Crew University's video here. Now, I don't agree with everything he says, but he is very good at pointing out historical things in the charts, and based off of what the charts have historically shown, he's showing these monthly candles here for the altcoin market cap. If they close above this 1.5 trillion market cap for the total alts minus Bitcoin, that's when we're really going to probably see an alt season, is what he's pointed out based off of what's happened previously. And as long as we don't lose this level here of support, that we're still on track to get an alt season. He thinks an alt season is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So this is the chart he's talking about here, and these are the levels that he's talking about. If we get up above this 1.5 trillion on the monthly chart and close a monthly candle above 1.5 trillion, that's when we're going to see a parabolic run with alts. But I would probably expect the total crypto market cap for alts to kind of get up in that 2.5 to 3 trillion mark, even higher to 5 trillion potentially. But I would say at least 3 trillion this cycle, just because typically in the cycles, if you look at 2017 and 2018 here, it only got up to 400 billion market cap. And then last cycle, it got up to 1.7 trillion, which is like a 3x or more, almost a 4x from this crypto market cap here. So if we wouldn't have to 3x it, but if we doubled it, or even went 1.5 times as high, that would still put us at 2.5 trillion. I would expect us to probably get in the 2.5 to 3 trillion as a minimum this cycle for alts, especially with how popular crypto is getting and the pro administration for crypto that's in the office right now. And they're talking about, meme coins aren't even going to be regulated by the SEC. So, this is a lot of things that are coming into play that can make crypto really bullish once we get the liquidity in the market and lower interest rates. So when is this going to happen? Potentially for an alt season. I've talked about it before. I didn't think interest rates would have that much of a impact on the crypto markets, because we did get an alt season in early 2024 in March, and we saw much higher prices on a lot of these coins, even with tightening of the liquidity, and we had higher interest rates. So we can get at least a smaller alt season with higher interest rates, as we've seen in 2024 in March, and there was some really big movement there with especially with gaming coins and AI coins especially. So I wouldn't see that we would necessarily need the interest rate cuts for alts to see improvement, but it looks like that may have to happen in order for us to get a true alt season. Right now, the Fed is saying, as of February 11th here, when they talked to Jerome Powell of Congress, he's saying they don't see any point in no rush to lower interest rates right now. So it could be a while before they start lowering these interest rates, and that could affect these markets. It really is hard to say right now if that's going to have a true impact on it or not. But as long as they're being tightened with the interest rates, we may not see any true alt season. But hopefully we get some kind of mini alt season at least to see some relief in these prices, because if things keep going the way they are, these alts are going to continue to bleed potentially to Bitcoin. It's going to get really even more painful for people who are holding on to alts like myself and others, of course. So I'm hoping that we'll see this turn around soon. We'll have to see what happens here with the Fed interest rates over the course of the next few months. With they're kind of holding on to things to see what the job markets do, if the unemployment rates increase at all. Right now they're holding steady and actually lower than expected. They're at like 4%. They're trying to hit their target of 2% inflation, which they haven't quite hit yet, but we'll see if any of these Trump moves lower the inflation rates at all. So if that makes the Fed more comfortable to lower interest rates, we'll see what happens here. But I saw Congress trying to twist their arm a little bit to lower these interest rates so people can borrow money more than they can right now, because right now it's expensive to borrow money, and if they lower these interest rates, it'll make more affordable things out there for people to borrow money for cars, and interest rates for loans and stuff like that. Now, I understand the Fed can't really control interest rates supposedly for like mortgages. Supposedly that's like long-term interest rates. They don't have an effect on that supposedly, but I think all this kind of coincides with itself, because ever since they started increasing the interest rates, the mortgage interest rates went up as well. So it does affect it, whether they directly impact it or not. I think it does impact it regardless of whether they have direct control over it or not. It definitely impacts the interest rates for mortgages, which really impacts people's lifestyle and what they can afford to live, because if you double your interest rate on a mortgage from like 3% to 6% or 3.5% to 7%, that makes a huge difference on your monthly payment for your mortgage. So really affects people's ability to live and thrive, and same with rent, because the businesses borrowing money to buy these houses and apartment complexes, those interest rates are higher, so it costs them more to own those buildings, so they charge more rent as well. So it all has a big impact on it. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in today's video, guys. Hopefully we see some relief in these markets, and hopefully that total crypto market cap for alts gets above the 1.5 trillion mark and closes a monthly candle above that. Once that happens, we should have an alt season, according to what Steve with Crypto Crew University is pointing out with the previous charts of the alt season. And if you watch Benjamin Cohen's videos, he's also saying that we might get a little bit more pain in the alts against Bitcoin before we see a true alt season, because we're not technically to the levels that we've been at in the past before we broke into an alt season, but it is heading in that direction. So hopefully we get that happening soon, where these alts bottom out, and then we can hopefully have the Fed lower interest rates and spark us into a true alt season. Hopefully it's a massive one here. Right now it's really painful as a big waiting game, and people are getting scared of their micro caps and fleeing to bigger caps and stable coins. I'm just holding on to mine because I believe that at some point we're going to get an alt season and this will all turn around. Just right now in the short term, it's painful, but I'm not going to let it scare me out of my coins, and I just hopefully can get some more funds available to kind of buy the dip and get my dollar cost average down on some of these. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in today's video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and we'll see you on the next video.